Imagine being a college dropout with no money and your average black hat skills. What would you do? This is the situation I was in with a couple of bills to pay and no one to bail me out. With not a lot of options, I took a gamble and decided to pursue bug bounties with zero expectations and no experience, not knowing the roller coaster of emotions awaiting me. And no, going black hat was not an option, because I didn't want to be in constant fear of getting arrested. We all know the hefty sentence given to cyber criminals, especially in our country Kenya, and not to forget how jail is. So why did I make this video? Because I want to motivate you to push yourself past your limit and together prove that anyone, regardless of where you are from and your experience, you can still achieve success in bug bounty. In January 2022, I decided to focus my attention on Exness, a trading broker that also has a bug bounty program on HackerOne. Being a noob in trading and man, I sucked at it. I thought this would be a good idea to see if I could find bugs in their main website since I was familiar with it. I had reported a couple of business logic issues, but as usual, most were closed as informatives. For those not familiar with what business logic issues are, they are flaws in the design and implementation of an application that result from a misunderstanding or mismanagement of its operational rules. Discouraged with finding nothing, I decided to take a look at their policy with one goal in mind: to be among the top 10 hackers in it, and that's where I noticed that rate-limiting issues are accepted. Rate limiting is a technique that controls the number of requests a client can make to a server within a given time period. I started to test for it, and to my surprise, I found a couple of them, but reported 3. I got paid 2, making my total bounty for January $1,000, which was the single most amount I had ever made. To add, the timing was also right since Exness was running their Christmas offer, and hackers were getting paid 2 times of what they are paid out initially. Comes February, thinking it would be like January only to earn a total of $200. This was the 3rd bug that I had reported on January, but their Christmas offer only ran for 2 months, December and January. This was a bit discouraging because I was aiming for $1,000 in bounties every month to hit my yearly goal of $10,000 in just 10 months. Regardless, I kept on pushing, and getting my feet wet in this area was new in. March was no different to Feb, with only one rate-limiting bug that I found on a new endpoint in Exness, making me $200. This messed me up, and I was thinking of quitting to focus on something else, since I was not seeing the same results that I saw other hackers post on X. At the time, I did not realize how much I was pushing myself, which continued to deteriorate me mentally, not knowing I was experiencing burnout. In April, I decided to start looking for bugs in other programs, and that is when I found Safaricom, which is the largest telecommunication provider in Kenya. This is like Reliance Jio in India or Verizon in US, but in Kenya. Here I was able to find an email bypass that paid $200. Not satisfied, I went back to Exness and was able to find an IDOR, which is an access control vulnerability that arises when an application uses user-supplied input to access objects directly. With the IDOR, I was able to modify data belonging to other users, but since it was found in their secondary asset, I was only paid $500. Unhappy with this, I focused on finding rate-limiting issues where I found one, and was paid $100 for it, making my total for April $800. I now had 2 programs to look at, and this time I focused on Safaricom since they had a huge scope, and in particular there was one domain that I liked that had a lot of permissions to test for access control issues. I managed to find a couple of access control bugs, but most were closed as duplicates. That became a lesson to never report access control issues in bulk since only one got paid out an outstanding $100. Just imagine the look on my face when I got paid. Being dissatisfied, I added another program, but this was private. The program itself was a carding platform, purpose-built to grow customer loyalty, engagement, and revenue through embedded card issuance experiences. Here, I found another IDOR. But this required one to be part of the organization since it required the knowledge of a UUID, or Universally Unique Identifier. I got paid $150 for the IDOR, which made me feel like I was being taken advantage of. So I decided to look for another rate-limiting bug in Exness, and lucky enough I found one and got paid $200, making me a total $550, which was still decent to be honest. I decided to focus on access control issues, where I just wanted a program that was somehow familiar to Safaricom, and lucky enough I found Cloudflare. It had a lot of restrictions to test for especially email verification. So I started to test if I could access some of the features that required email verification but with an unverified email. And to my surprise, I found around 3, but Cloudflare decided to pay one for $200 and the remaining two, $50 each. I also got paid $150 for the IDOR I found in the private program, making a total of $350. I was still focused on Cloudflare and decided to report other endpoints where I found one could bypass email verification. I found a total of 5 endpoints where 4 were paid $200 each and the last one was paid $100, making a total of $900, which was a bit closer to my monthly goal. To say that this was luck would be an understatement, 'cause months ago I went from being jobless to earning a decent amount. So even though I was not hitting my target, I felt really honored. Feeling taken advantage of in June, I decided to look into other programs, where I found my gem, Dynamic Labs, whose purpose is to help developers build authentication systems effortlessly. Here, I found my highest-paying bug at the time, which was $750. The bug I found allowed one to rejoin an organization even after being removed. I was also able to find a payment bypass on the program also, which was paid $250. Hitting the $1,000 mark felt amazing, and with this newly found motivation, I took a look at the carding program again. This time they added email verification, but it was not implemented correctly, and one could create and modify things through the API. This was considered a medium severity bug, and was paid $500, making me a total of $1,500. In September, I found another payment bypass on Dynamic Labs, and was paid $250. I also did a retest on Cloudflare and the carding program, making a total of $350. I was still striving to achieve my yearly goal, and even though there were months I earned low bounties, I was still motivated, and this is all that mattered. On Dynamic Labs, since it had a lot of features to test for. This turned out to be the best decision. I found another payment bypass, and yes, this was my third payment bypass, which was paid a whopping $250. Fortunate enough, I was able to find a bug in one of their domains which used Magic, another authentication system on its own, but that has some striking similarities to Dynamic. Once I reported the issue, I was advised by the Dynamic team to report the issue directly to the Magic Bug Bounty program. And when I did, they wasted no time, and I was paid $500 for it. Encouraged and motivated, I decided to take a swing at both programs, where I was able to find a payment and access control bypass in Magic, which allowed blocked users to bypass a block restriction, and were paid $250 and $500 respectively. I was also paid $200 by Dynamic Labs for a configuration bug I found where users were at risk, making me a total of $1,700. I decided to focus more on Magic, and the results were not that bad. I managed to find an HTML bug in Magic which was paid $250. I also found another configuration issue in Dynamic, and I cannot go into detail since most of the issues are not disclosed. The bug was paid out $250, making me a total of $500 in November. I decided to focus on Magic more, and understand its features, and to my surprise, I found a IDOR which was paid out as $1,000, making it the highest paid out bug I had ever found. I also found another access control bug that allowed me to bypass my other initial report, which was paid out $250. While at it, I decided to take a look at Dynamic Labs and was fortunate to find another configuration issue which was paid out $250, making me a total of $1,500. So in total, I made $9,650, which might seem a lot or little depending on how you view it. This was $400 short of what I had aspired to make, but this was life-changing, especially in the financial situation I was in. I learned a lot, and to be fair, Bug Bounty has its challenges and successes. So if you are feeling down and want to give up, remember that many before you have felt this way, so just take another swing at it. You might be surprised with the results that come after. As always, just know there is someone rooting for you. Thanks for watching and happy bug hunting.